Hello, and welcome to Silent Films, a deaf film podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Rodriguez. I'm a mass communications major at the University of South Florida with minors in film studies and deaf studies. I'm joined by my co-host, Ian Farmer.
Hello, I'm Ian Farmer. I'm unfortunately a cybersecurity major at the University of South Florida, and I've been deaf my entire life.
Today we'll be discussing deaf accessibility at movie theaters and Gints Zilbalodis. Today we'll be discussing Zilbalodis.
You keep this in, right? It's just fucking hilarious.
Zilbalodis' flow. Okay. Today we'll be discussing deaf accessibility at movie theaters and Gints Zilbalodis' flow. But first, let's get to know each other a little bit more. Now, Ian, I've known you since 7th grade. I remember the first time I met you, and
PE class.
It was in PE class in 7th grade. It was like the first day. I really didn't know anyone.
Under the table.
I knew a couple people. Wait, what?
We sat underneath the table inside of the PE locker room, in the boys' locker room. If you remember, we sat underneath the little counter thing inside the PE locker room for like 15 minutes because the teacher didn't show up, and that's how we met each other.
When I first noticed your hearing aids, I was like, oh, I had never like really interacted with a deaf person before, so I was like, how do I like
people?
Yeah, the fucking aliens.
Yeah, I don't know how I got here.
It's like, how do I approach? How do I talk? I'm like, and I like noticed the hearing aids, and I like I think I pulled either Eric or Cord aside, and it's like, what's going on? Why does he have like hearing aids? And they're like, oh, he's deaf, and I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And
then like I felt like I approached you like a scared animal at first. Almost.
You approached me like I broke out of containment. You spoke to me like I was an alien.
Yeah, I walked up and I was like, I had my hands outstretched. I had I walked up like Chris Pratt in Jurassic World, and I was like, easy
girl, easy girl.
Hello, mine. I wasn't that bad. I wasn't. What?
Me, Joseph. You, Ian. You deaf. Me, English.
I don't think I was that bad, but I was I feel like I like to think I was better than like a lot of people.
No, you're pretty good. However, you definitely were overly cautious.
Yeah, but just because I had never. I think also when I asked, they're like, oh, he's deaf, and I think they also said, and he's autistic, which like.
Oh yeah, the Wamba right
I'm
there,
like,
man.
All right, I was like, okay, and then by like the second day, it was just like normal hanging out.
that was the bleachers. The first day was not normal.
Yeah, the first day was Chris Pratt talking to Blue, the Velociraptor. The second day was just like fucking hanging out, waiting for my poisoned college brain.
Coach.
Yeah, waiting for the coach to come, and so we could I don't even fucking know what we even do the first day of middle school.
I can tell you what we did during the first week.
Pacer test.
Nope. During the first week, we went onto the track. Oh. And and it was the favorite thing that you don't ever remember doing, and I keep saying that you do, where you took a rock, you grabbed the rock, looked directly into my eyes multiple times, saying, I got a rock. You threw it on the ground, and then said it's rolling, and then proceeded to pick it up, and then do the same joke about 30 times. And I don't think I'm exaggerating. There was like 30 times as we kept walking around the track for like, what was it, like an hour? I think that's how long. It was either 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah, that was week 1. You got comfortable by then.
And you decided to remain my friend for what?
Too long.
It's 8 years now. 8 years, I think, this year.
Yeah.
So somehow, despite me approaching you like Chris Pratt in Jurassic World, and then proceeding, once I was comfortable with you, to make the worst fucking joke 30 times, you were like, you know what? I'm gonna stay friends with this guy for like half of my fucking life.
Gotta give him a chance, you know.
Yeah, I feel bad for him.
You're still in the chance period. I still don't know where you reside. We'll see in another 10 years.
Yeah,
we'll see what's up.
Yeah, you're still trying to. You're doing the test run on me. I exited my Chris Pratt phase, but actually this entire friendship. You've been in your Chris Pratt phase for the past 8 years, trying to make sure you still approach me like a wild animal. I guess that explains why every time you come up to me, you put your hand out and you put your fingers out for me to sniff.
I also squat down because you're quite a bit smaller, so I have to get eye to eye with you to make sure I still have to assert my dominance, so that even though I have hearing aid, I still know my level in the hierarchy, so I got to put my hand out to make sure we're still good.
Yeah, and every time I finish an assignment or something, you take out like a milk bone and you take out a clicker and you say, "Oh, good job," and then you click it.
I don't know where I keep finding these things. They just appear in my book bag. I don't even put them in there. They just kind of spawn in.
Just normal things. It's that's how it goes. Anyways, we're here to talk about movies.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so the idea of this podcast is, we're just chilling, we're hanging out, but also, movies. Everybody loves movies. Sound
we hope.
is a big part of movies,
Unfortunately, I can't fucking hear that.
My headphones got unplugged. 1 second. Shit.
This guy.
Cable was stuck.
He waits hours to start doing
He's
this shit.
talking shit. I can see. I can see the fucking waveform. He's talking shit about me.
He's in major for this bullshit, and he unplugged his headset. Hey, welcome back.
Anyway, so yeah, this fuck it. Take two.
What's up,
Hello and welcome to Silent Films, a deaf film podcast.
No, it stays. Go on, keep going.
Hello and welcome to the Piss Your Pants podcast.
You're not cutting any of this out. What?
Okay, so yeah.
Hey, Professor. By the way, he's not editing any of this. I'm just gonna say that he's gonna edit 3 seconds of it and be like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna send it in." And this is what you're about to hear. Probably the most insane podcast of your life. I am sorry. Please give this man a good grade.
We've already been talking for 11 minutes. Do you want to talk a little bit about your history of deafness, kind of how you how long you've been dealing with it, kind of how you realized you were diagnosed and stuff like that?
Nah.
Okay, fair enough. So Flo.
Alright, well, let's see. So you have stated that I have been deaf my entire life, and that is true. I have been deaf my entire life. However, my dumbass somehow made it seem like I knew what I was doing. Back in probably, I would say, pre-K, kindergarten, around those times, they probably don't do that anymore because COVID or, whatever that happened. This man fucking unwrapped something, I swear. But
I didn't do anything.
So they may not do this anymore, but you used to be taken into this bus where you were sat down next to all your classmates. So your friends. He's in pre-K and kindergarten. You're friends with the person that sits right next to you. And your English is dog shit. So you're just talking to everybody like, yeah, we're friends now. So everybody's your friend in there. And inside the bus, you have these people who are on the opposite side of you who are pressing a big ass red button. And then you put headphones on and you raise your hand whenever you hear the note. And then they do that for about 10 minutes at different frequencies. And then you get off the bus because usually you pass it with flying colors. My ass did not think of this as a sound test because they never told me how the rules went. They sat me down on this little chair that I swear was made for animals because it did not fit my ass. Sat down, put the headphones on, didn't say anything else, and started pressing this button. I thought it was a reaction test. This man's eating Cheetos.
I'm not. I'm literally just sitting here.
So I sat down and thought it was a reaction test. So whenever they hit the button, I would raise my hand and I'd leave the bus. And they're like, damn, this guy's really good at hearing. Like, we never have to test him. 5 years later, they finally tell me the rules of what was going on. I sat down, did the test, followed the rules this time, and then proceeded to fail so badly that they sent me out of school. They called my parents and forcibly removed me from the school and set up an appointment with me. The school set up an appointment at the audiologist that same day. I then proceed to be at the audiologist for 8 hours.
Oh,
they were
Christ.
closed. They were closed. It was after hours. It was dark out, pitch black. It was about 10 o'clock at night, which I don't, they close at 6, so I'm not quite sure how that worked. But
someone was making really good overtime. They're like, this is the fucking most deaf child we've ever seen. This is a red alert. We've never had a child this deaf before. We need you to get in here and fucking do something and get overtime at your ridiculous, audiologist rates.
Yeah. The audiologist already paid a lot. Just imagine overtime payment for, 4 hours.
Now they can buy a second yacht.
Yes, it's another yacht. So I go in, they test me. Severe bilateral hearing loss. And it's really funny, if you were to go through my reports, it said normal hearing, normal hearing, normal hearing, normal hearing, severe bilateral hearing loss, severe bilateral hearing loss, severe bilateral hearing loss. And then you stop testing me because I'm already down there. And what Joseph has not known was that there was actually a day 2.
They made you come back after being there for 8 hours?
So I go back on day 2 because then they have to start fitting in ear molds. I'm autistic and I was in 3rd grade. 3rd grade me does not like things touching me, including hair, fingers, ear molds, shit in my ears, stuff like that. I made this poor woman work, and her name was Dr. Rickman, best person on the planet. She deserves so much more because I then proceed to have a 10-hour appointment with Dr. Rickman. It was so bad that Joseph does not know this. This is the first time he's hearing this. I became the trial appointment for upcoming audiologists that they would give my horror story saying, if you can deal with this, you are good to go. I am not lying. Go to St. Joseph's audio. No, not St. Joseph. It's audiologist nearest to where I in Tampa, but not USF. It's the one on the other side. You go there, you say my name, they know exactly who you're talking to. I'm on a plaque in the back. I've seen it. I'm on it's a black framed plaque that's behind the call room desk, where you go in to actually start the appointment. I'm back there. That's me. If you see a guy back there, that's my ass. So, in conclusion, deaf as fuck, severe bilateral hearing loss, had in total 18-hour appointments in 2 days. She got hella money. I still feel bad for her. She deserves a 3-year vacation over that.
She earned that second yacht.
Oh, 3rd. third yacht.
Actually,
100%.
yeah, she earned a third yacht. She was the first to go through the
training,
the Herculean task of being your audiologist. She was the pioneer. Like, she came back and she had the 1,000-yard stare. She would just fucking she would
so
hear
much better.
anyone with the name Ian, or like, someone talking about like a farmer who works on a farm, and she would just fucking, her ears start ringing and she just like stares off into space.
No, not this guy. But I will say, I did get better after that. As insane as that may sound, I did get better. Surface dogs help. Yeah, and then I got my hearing aids. I think it was 4 weeks later. That was another very long appointment, which I won't get into because that was its own hurdles. Because what hearing people don't realize is when you're deaf, you don't realize how much things make noise and how sensitive you get. For example, I didn't know an AC made noise. I didn't know chair wheels, whenever you move them, made noise. I didn't know that metal against each other made noise. I did not know that you could hear someone, and here's a big one. She held up a file folder over her mouth, asking me what my favorite color was. No idea what she said. Not at all. I thought you were going to be able to hear that. So, birds chirping. No idea. Never knew they made any noise until I had hearing aids. So that's kind of a very interesting thing to think about now.
Yeah, it must have been like, I don't know, you have all those like YouTube videos where it's like, oh, a deaf person has hearing aids for the first time, or like, a colorblind person sees color for the first time.
Yeah, all those are fake. All those are extremely fake. Those reactions you get, no. A real reaction is overstimulation. They're not crying because, oh my God, I can hear things. They're crying like, oh my God, my head's going to explode. Because it's just, your senses go haywire. Because again, you've had it for how many years? And now it's like, bing, you can hear everything now.
Yeah, I feel like that would just be like, super overwhelming. Like, I get overwhelmed enough by sound, and I don't even necessarily have any diagnosed problems. I feel like I probably have some kind of like audio processing stuff, but
well, nowadays hearing aids have those little volume switches on the side. When I got my hearing aids, it was on or off. There was no volume. So you either get deaf as hell, or hey, you can now hear things at 8,000 hertz. Enjoy, little child.
You could just hear like the universe itself moving against itself. You can hear like the particles of dust from the Big Bang colliding.
Yeah, I could hear, Saturn's rings slowly collapsing.
Either that or literally nothing.
Yep.
Pick your
It's
poison.
pretty terrible. Yeah, quite literally. And then there's ear infections. Don't even. Not even talking about that.
God. Well, you've talked a bit about how being deaf is just, it has a lot of difficulties that hearing people really wouldn't think about. Mm-hmm. And, it extends into like every aspect of life, it affects everything in some ways. And I feel like, a big thing that people take for granted is like public spaces and stuff that, especially going to the movie theater. Oh, movie theater. It's almost like the podcast is called Silent Films, a deaf film podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Rodriguez.
I thought you said this was a film about pissing our pants. Did I lose?
No, sorry, we're filming that next, actually.
Oh, I pissed my pants already.
Yeah,
no,
actually, no. Well, I guess we'll have to reschedule.
Yeah, we have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, no, we're filming Silent Films. We're filming the Piss Your Pants podcast, and then the Wayne Garcia Hate Hour is up.
What is that one?
So that's where we just exclusively talk shit about Wayne Garcia. I had no fucking idea. I'm glad you honestly, I'm glad that was my first time hearing that, because it was fucking hilarious that you were the fucking test case. You were the training.
Yeah, no. Seriously, like, if so, how it works now is it's like St. Jude's, or I forget the audiologist over here. It's Saint something, and if you went into it, wanted to be an audiologist, they would just give this fucking horror story. That's me. They wouldn't say my name. However, I don't really know how true that is. Dr. Rickman tells me otherwise. But regardless, I'm the nightmare case, and if you sat down for an interview, they would be like, all right, you have a kid. Me.
Yeah, they just pull out a picture. They said Ian Farmer walks into the room, and they just go, oh, no, I quit.
They're like, and if they somehow they get through the shiver me timbers part, and they start talking about it, and they're like, they give like events that happen during that point where it's like, you have a kid that's crying about the new hearing aid mold due to overstimulation. What do you do?
Give up.
Then they have to give. Well, that's probably the best choice. Send him home.
He was not made to hear,
God said, don't hear thou child, and therefore he will be sent home.
I've seen the future. If we give him hearing aids, he will have to hear a fucking idiot make the same joke about a fucking rolling rock 30 goddamn times. Do not give him hearing aids.
Bless him. Don't make him go through that, please.
All right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
All right, enjoy it.
I'm gonna have a really good time, actually.
All right. And now it's just you and me, Professor. How's you been doing in your class? Good? Bad? I think he's doing pretty good. However, don't you think it'd be kind of funny if you just scared him a little bit to go to the podcast, put a nice big 0 here just for, a couple minutes, keep him on his toes, see what he thinks, and emails you, just don't respond. Just don't respond. It would be really funny. And then the next hour, give him the actual grade. But I think it'd be kind of funny if you do it. How are the children? You got any children? I don't know. How are the dogs? Any pets? Hope they're doing well. What can you tell me about Juan Lewis? But what can you tell me about creative loafing? Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
I was very silent during the entire time. You do not have to look back at that recording at all.
I definitely could not hear you through the very thin walls between my bedroom and my bathroom.
You definitely did not.
I heard nothing, actually.
Nothing. You pissed so loud that you heard nothing.
Actually, I think maybe I need to go to the audiologist and maybe I'll tell them I know you, and they're actually just gonna kick me out the second I walk in.
Oh yeah, no, there's a big security guard there now. They just pick you up and just throw you out.
Yeah, actually, he has really good hearing, and if he hears the name Ian,
if you just heard
his head spins around like The Exorcist, and he says you, and he just fucking slides across the ground, grabs you, and throws you out the window, the closest one. It doesn't matter if you're on like the second, third floor. It doesn't matter.
There's a puddle of water next to you. He appears from the puddle of water, and just takes you into the abyss.
Yeah.
So anyways, you do not need to hear about any of that. That was just a message for your professor. I mean, I didn't say anything at all, but you should leave it in.
Yeah, you're right. I should leave lots of dead air, I'm sure.
It's just dead air. It's just dead air.
I'm sure Professor Garcia would love that. And if he doesn't, he will be hearing about it on the Wayne Garcia Hate Hour.
Yes.
So yeah, being deaf, you've talked a little bit about how it's affected. We talked a little bit about how it affected like socialization in school, but is there any other anecdotes you want to give about school, or no?
Let's see. Let me try to do a big think. I could tell you something that wasn't exactly caused of hearing, or it didn't have anything to do with me being deaf, but in some weird way it also did, that you also don't know about.
I'm interested.
All right. 3rd grade, I get my hearing aids. Once you become part of this little disability clique, not exactly the words I want to use, but you know what? Screw it, that's what I'm going to go with. You are then given the choice of a 504 plan and an IEP. That basically means the main thing that gives you more time during tests or exams or whatnot. In Lake Magdalene Elementary School, so they did things a little bit differently there. Well, let me first off is saying I love the school, still do. However,
actually, this episode is sponsored by Lake Magdalene Elementary School.
So this was the best school I've ever been to in my life. I enjoyed the staff there. People there were great. Teachers were also pretty good too, except for the IEP room. So because I was deaf and got more time for exams, despite me clearly telling them, hey, I would like to take my exams and testing in the room that I'm currently residing, being the classroom, they said, fuck you, abducted me from my classroom and put me into this wooden fucking room that it was a U-shaped table with 5 teachers in that room. And then there were two people on each side of the U, and then 4 people on the long part of the U. So in total, there were there was 8 students and 5 teachers. They would go into your classroom before you take a test, abduct you from your seat by any means necessary, and I truly mean by any means necessary. I'm not bullshitting about that. Any means necessary. Abduct you and take your test. You then had to sit in this room and take your test. Okay, that sounds pretty fine, right? We take our test and whatnot. You are not allowed to leave this room until everyone is finished.
Oh, God.
Now, you may think, oh, it's elementary school. That can't be that bad, right?
Oh, no.
So day one, I go in there without knowing. By the way, again, autistic, hate chain. Took me in there. I feel like I'm being interrogated because they took me into a wooden planked room with nothing in it but a projector, a huge-shaped table, and 5 teachers in black fucking suits. What am I supposed to do? I'm 3rd grade. I think I'm Men in Black bullshit. Like, what is this shit? So, I swear they're gonna bring out they're gonna take out the pen with the red thing and they look into this light. Bing! You are not deaf anymore.
That'd be fucking actually. That'd be insane.
Yeah, unfortunately, instead what they did is they abducted me into this room, and I take this. I believe it was my science exam. I finished this exam in 45 minutes. It's not that hard. I then proceed to sit on my ass for another 5 hours and 15 minutes. 5 hours and 15 minutes as a 3rd grader, not allowed to move from my desk. But so much so that when it was lunchtime, they brought lunch to you. So you had to sit down and eat the shitty ass school lunch that was already there while they were still testing. You need to use the bathroom? Oh, well, of course. Well, we can't let the child piss himself. This isn't that podcast. That's next one. So we can't have that yet. So they then, in order to use the bathroom, it can only be one at a time. There's no time limit. And you are escorted by 3 suited teachers to the bathroom next to the pre-K The pre-K one, where they're teaching you that the color red is from Airheads. Use that. You go back in. You think you get to breathe the outside air? No, fuck you. You're going back into the wooden plank room. You're not allowed to leave. I then told my mom about that. Let's just say I love my mom. She will make sure everything is right for me. She goes into this school with a 6-inch 3-ringed green binder. Now, a 6-inch 3-ring binder is fucking huge. There was so much paper inside of this 6-inch 3-ring binder that in order to carry it, she had to carry it in a backpack. She goes into the office and demands to speak, not with the principal, because the principal and I was really cool. For some reason, at one of those points, I sat in the principal's room and started stapling with the stapler for an hour straight, and it was a red stapler. I don't remember much about that. I remember it was a red stapler. It must have been the autism speaking. I'm not quite sure.
Autism speaks.
Oh,
and it speaks about the red stapler.
Red stapler. That's the #1 donation prize or whatever the fuck. So she goes into the assistant principal room, and what I'm telling you is not everything I've told you so far is not bullshit. I think all the staff has rotated out except for maybe the AGP teachers. So if you probably spoke to one of those and said the word Ian Farmer, they'd be shitting their pants, pissing. But again, that's next podcast, so you can't talk about that. She takes a 6-inch binder and forcibly slams it onto this table. And when I'm in what something I cannot get across is when they drop this binder on this table, think of it as like a magnitude 6 earthquake on this poor little shelf. She slams it on this little table and everything goes off the desk, just colliding into the ground. And she flips to chapter 1, the beginning, the new beginning even. And I cannot stress this enough. For 3 hours, she was inside of that assistant principal room, giving her a piece of her mind. I don't know what was said in there. I don't know what was done in there. I don't know what deal was made in there. All I know was when the next test came around, I was inside the normal room. I don't know what was conversed. I don't think I ever want to know what was conversed because I never saw the assistant principal again. She quit the same year. I don't want to think it was because of me. It probably wasn't, but she didn't retire. She quit.
Oh no. Your mom wrote an entire fucking manifesto.
I keep asking her and she won't tell me what she said in there.
Oh no.
So obviously some words were exchanged. Elementary school, remember 3rd grade.
You're like the most notorious 3rd grader of all time. Like you can't go to St. Jude's. You can't go to the audiologist. Audiologist is like, oh shit, here comes Ian Farmer. Time to train the newbie. You go to the elementary school. It's like, oh, time to take a test.
You want to talk about bad? We could go into Buchanan Middle School, but fuck.
Oh God.
You want to talk about being notorious?
Oh.
But I believe that extends the reaches of this podcast. Therefore, we shall.
I think that's for the next
Piss Your Pants podcast.
Yeah, we're 40 minutes into the recording, and I think it's finally time that we start talking about movies. And being deaf, it affects really every aspect of your life to some extent.
That's correct.
Because hearing is just so baked into life that hearing people just assume that's the default, and so basically everything is dependent on hearing to some extent. And especially in public spaces where they're catering to a general audience, so they really don't think about accessibility as much. And given the name of this podcast, one of the spaces where this really extends is to public showings of films, to the movie theater. And I'd just like you to talk a little bit about your experiences, watching films in theater as a deaf person.
Absolutely. So, as my co-host knows, I don't watch that many movies, but it's not for the lack of liking movies. I love movies. They're a very good thing to, not a very good thing. It's a very nice, passage of time to be able to watch something that people have put a lot of thought into, and kind of write your own little review, have your own little takeaways from it. It's a good time. Unfortunately, I can't hear that shit. You bring me into a movie theater, and if it's not, Marvel, where they explode shit every 30 seconds and make the characters talk plus 55 decibels more than they're supposed to in a really, really quiet scene, I can't hear anything. Furthermore, AMC recently added this little,
it's just like an Android phone on a stand.
Well, no, it's far worse than that. Let's not give them the benefit of the doubt here. They added a equipment for people hard of hearing, and I forgot what we were watching.
Watching the Borderlands movie.
Oh, fuck that. Okay, you know what? We went to go watch Redacted, and we. Go in the back.
You didn't enjoy. You bought a $40 Claptrap popcorn bucket, but you don't want to talk about Borderlands.
So did he, Professor.
But sorry, we were seeing Borderlands. Yeah.
We were, but redacted. Worst movie I've seen in a long time. So we went to go watch this awful thing, and I go into the back and they started talking about hearing accommodations. I'm like, oh, maybe this is what I need to finally go watch some movies again and be able to enjoy it and actually not sit down like I'm watching Harry Potter, be like, ooh, pretty colors, what's happening? Don't know the story at all, but I know he's casting a spell and that's fucking doing, he's dead. That's about my main takeaway with movies. Pretty colors, the guy's dead. It's the ending, there's credits. I leave now. So we talk about it, and they proceed to hand me this clunky ass OtterBox Android version 1 tablet with a privacy screen on it that if you looked at it more in like a 5-degree angle, you couldn't see shit. Okay, that's fine. And then they give me glasses that lets me see the fucking screen, which also makes the movie darker because that's, the right thing to do.
Wait, they give you glasses?
They gave me glasses so they could tint the screen down, or they did something with the screen protector and they give you glasses. Yeah. So then the person next to you doesn't see the light from the screen.
I could still see that shit.
Exactly,
when because it was working.
Shit. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
But it didn't even work. Like I could still see it for a little bit from where I was, and it was like, I don't know. I didn't mind. Like it wasn't bright, it wasn't distracting or anything. But it's like
that was a nice thing. But
the glasses seem unnecessary.
The glasses, all that did was make the movie watching experience more bad when watching Redacted, and I was already bad. So. They give me the tablet, they give me glasses, they give me this weird-ass noodle arm looking bullshit, which, just wait on that. So I'm walking around with this, and your hands are already full. We then proceed to get the worst pizza known to man, but that's beside the point. We go into this theater. Joseph sits down, I sit down, go off to the right to watch the greatest film of all times, totally. They lost money making it, by the way. And I attached this tablet to this noodle arm. By the way, not weighted at all. So I don't know what the point of that thing was, but I held it out and I put it on the ground and it fell over. So that was kind of useless.
The bottom looked like it was supposed to go in a cup holder, but if you put it in the cup holder, you wouldn't have been able to see it.
And it fell. And then what if you're thirsty? Well, fuck you.
Too bad. You paid $30 for your soda, and you are also deaf. Too bad. Sorry, you don't.
Luck, buddy.
Choose
Gene
a
pool.
battle. God, the intersectionality of being deaf and being thirsty.
Yeah, you choose your fight. So, the movie starts, and apparently it's supposed to have this really super cool tech where you connect to the theater screen or the movie that you're watching, and it would tell you in subtitles what's happening. And they give you little earbuds that are connected to the tablet, so then you can watch the subtitles flash with the movie. Unfortunately, they did not count for delay. So when that person on the screen started talking, and then 5 seconds later, it comes to the tablet, and then 2 seconds later, after it went to the tablet, I can hear the fucking thing being spoken through from the tablet. They're already on the next scene. Lip syncing, fuck that. You know, that's out of the window. Who needs that in movies? In cinematography, you know, we don't need that. And then the best part, it just went off. It didn't. It stopped connecting. And then it came back. Oh no, it's gone again. I then proceeded to watch the worst film of all time, an even worse situation, because now I have an octopus arm with glasses, with a burning hot Android tablet because it's must be from Temu, in an OtterBox case with the worst pizza known to man, and a big gulp thing of this purple Skittle ass drink that my co-host wanted me to drink, and it tasted like purple Skittles.
That was when we watched Slingshot. That was a different time.
Oh, never mind. Okay, so the only good thing about that movie was the drink.
So, well, no, we liked Slingshot. Slingshot was good.
No. I'm talking about Redacted.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, we come to this place for magic, and that magic is, you know, technology that doesn't work, the most disgusting pizza you've eaten in your life, and, you know, all while watching, you know, absolute peak cinema like, you know, Eli Roth's Borderlands. And, you know, speaking of Borderlands, I just want to mention probably the best interaction I've ever had at a movie theater.
Oh dear.
So we go and we watch, you know, the Borderlands movie.
Yes, we do.
And it's,
unfortunately,
we're sitting, and it's just, we're kind of just sitting in the theater after it's over, and we're just kind of like flabbergasted. We're really confused. Like, what did we just watch? Like, it felt like a movie. Like,
kind of.
It was like the illusion of a movie, but afterwards I just felt like hollow and empty inside.
Yes.
There was like two okay performances. One was a child, and the other was Jack Black as Claptrap. And then the artist who made the model of Claptrap in the movie didn't even get put in the credits. So that's cool.
Yep, that's pretty awesome.
But we're sitting there watching this movie, and everyone else is gone by like the time the credits is like halfway over. There's no one left, except
part two, you know?
we look. Yeah, you got to see the after credits scene where they tease Borderlands 2, the movie, Tiny Tina's Wonderland, the movie. But we look behind us, and there's still a group of people there. It's like a large family
it's like 9 people just in a line.
Yeah, and then at like a random part in the credits, they start cheering. I'm like, woo! And they go, "You're famous!" Looking at this guy in the middle, and I'm like, they had something to do with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about approaching them while we were in the theater, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna bother them. We come out of the theater, and we were doing a triple feature, so we were there for a while. So after we leave that, even though our next film, Deadpool and Wolverine, was in the same IMAX theater,
at Peak Cinema.
We went, okay, time to get a bathroom break, buy the Claptrap $40 popcorn bucket. While Ian is in the bathroom, I see this family standing outside by the door. to exit like the whole theater, and I'm like, you know what, screw it, I want to know what, well, you know, if this guy worked on the movie I just watched, I'd like to go up and say hi and just ask what he did. So I come up and like, hey, you know, I heard you guys talking, did I hear that one of you guys, you know, worked on the movie? And everyone there turns and points their finger at this one guy. And the dude, he has like tears in his eyes. And I'm like, oh, you know, what'd you do on the movie? And they're like, he works at Gearbox. And, you know, I'm just like looking over, and he's so sad. I'm like, you know, he has like tears in his eyes. He's tearing up, and I'm just like, you know, like, congratulations. Like, you know, it's a big deal to be in the credits of a movie. Like, especially if you're not like in the movie field. Like, if you work at Gearbox, like, you know, to see this property that you've worked on get adapted into a Hollywood feature film, like that's incredible. I'm sure it's amazing. But I see him crying. I'm like, you know, congratulations. You know, as I'm walking away, I can't help but think, if he's crying, you know, because he's in the credits of a movie, or if he's crying because he's in the credits of this movie. And, you know,
we still don't know the answer.
You know, I don't know how he felt about the movie. You know, I hope he, you know, if he found some joy in it, good for him.
The only thing that, you know, thinking about it now, I have to wonder what he felt in the next 1 to 2 weeks when articles came out about how fucking terrible the movie was and how bad it was performing, and how Gearbox, I don't know for certain, but I feel like I remember Gearbox said, oh, we're not doing this again.
And then they dropped the trailer for Borderlands 4 to like kind of get better press. They dropped it early. And because
wasn't it because the I don't remember, it was like the stakeholders were unhappy, or like there was something that was extremely unhappy. They're like, wait, Borderlands 4, yeah, this game that you've been waiting for so long. Yeah, look, here's look, trailer. It comes out September 22nd, guys. Stay with us, please. I promise we're okay.
They had to do damage control. They're like, and they also dropped the movie on streaming like way sooner than usual.
It was like a week
after the movie came out. They're like, oh God, we got to release it on streaming. We need someone, please watch it on demand.
I've never seen something go from IMAX to streaming so quick in my life. Like, that's insane.
Like, oh God. Yeah, you know, like the second that like they were no longer required to have it in IMAX, they just 17 more showings of Deadpool and Wolverine. So, you know, we use our AMC Stubs membership is $25 a month. So, you know, we see these first 4 you can watch 3 movies. It's you know, it's a really great value proposition.
Really great deal.
You can see 3 movies a week for $25 a month. One movie ticket is $15. And you get all of your fees waived when you buy it online ahead of time. And you get discounts towards like popcorn and drinks and stuff. You know,
free upgrades. So if you get a medium or medium popcorn or medium drink, it gets instantly upgraded to a large.
It seems like such a good deal. So we watched 4 movies in this first month.
Yes, we did. And then what happened?
But the issue is with AMC Stubs is that if you close your membership, you can't get it again for 6 months. And we're like, oh well, we're gonna probably want to watch some more movies, so you know we're gonna keep it going, and we'll see some more stuff. We did not watch another movie until December using our AMC Stubs. I did see another movie in theaters. I watched the re-release of Coraline. But that was excluded from A-List, so I paid $18 to watch Coraline in 3D.
Yes, you did.
So, December rolls around. We're still paying for AMC stubs. It is what, like, right before all of the final shit is due.
It was December 9th.
It was like the
12 p.m.
December 9th. Do you know what day of the week that was?
Let's see if I can tell you. Monday.
Yeah, so it was a Monday of the last week of school. Right before a ton of shit goes down. We watched Gints, Zilbalodis. That's probably not right. We watched Flow.
Yes, we watched Flow.
And it was a magical experience.
Yes, it was.
All right, I'm just gonna I'm gonna cut this part out. I think we should redo the intro like when we're done, and say that this is in this episode we're talking about AMC and theater experiences, because we're not gonna have that much more to say about Flow. I feel like we have a decent amount to say about Flow, but we've been talking for an hour and a half.
Oh my god.
So we have an hour of content just on like AMC and you being deaf.
I think we have more than an hour.
Yeah, we have plenty. But yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about... We're just talking about the movies we saw in theaters last year, basically. Yep. Do you want to talk... We'll also talk about the Miku movie while we're here.
Sure.
Just for a little bit, yeah. All right. So, after paying for AMC stubs for... Let's see. We got it in August...
Yep.
So we used it that month. So, we made that, we got that $25 worth of value.
I can tell you exactly. So we used
then
it.
September.
We used it August 10th was when we used the triple feature A-list stubs.
And then it was the 26th, right? When we saw
The Screen Unseen.
Yes.
That is correct.
So we paid for September and October.
Yeah.
And November without using it once. And then December comes around. Actually, I think we saw it in December, right before the rollover date when it was going to charge us again.
That is correct.
And because we had such a good experience watching Flow, we didn't cancel it. And then we paid for January, and I think that's where we cut it off.
Yeah, because I was able to convince you. I was like, listen, man.
You're like, we're not gonna use this. And he was right.
Yes.
So we went and we saw good old Flow. And that was of the films I actually saw in theaters in the year of 2024, that is my favorite. Just a beautiful movie. And the animation is stunning. The sound design is incredible. And speaking of sound design, the film is actually surprisingly accessible to deaf people. Which, isn't, given what we talked about a while ago, talking about the horrible accessibility devices that AMC provides and the difficulties with watching films in the theater for deaf people. Ian, would you like to talk a little bit about your experience with Flow?
Sure, absolutely. So, when we went to go watch this movie, I think what really brought us to watching it, despite it, the main reason actually was because it was fully animated. And that was it's not unheard of, but it's one of those very rare things wow, really, you get to see this in theater, you usually don't see that nowadays. It's always the same old things, right? Isn't that right?
What? I actually don't. What are you saying?
Wasn't the whole reason why we wanted to see it was because it was fully animated? and not the second part yet, but it was fully animated, and it was what you wanted the Wild Robot to be.
So okay, wait. So when you say fully animated, what do you mean by fully animated?
Like a Blender. The full thing was made by Blender.
The impressive thing is that it's an independent film. It's a completely independently made Latvian film.
Yeah.
Made by a small team.
Completely in Blender.
Not owned by a massive studio. It's not connected to any IP. It's a fully original animated film with no big studio backing. And it just it was a big hit at Cannes. God, I'm sure someone's gonna beat me up for pronouncing it that way. Cannes. Yeah. It was a big hit at Cannes, and I had heard about it. I saw these trailers on YouTube, and they were just it looked beautiful.
Beautiful. It looked stunning.
And enough that it stuck in my mind for months, because it took a really long time to come to theaters over here.
Didn't we see it 6 months prior?
It came out, it was released at Cannes in February.
Yeah, it's February, so even longer.
And then we didn't get it at regular theaters until December. We saw it soon after it came out.
I think it was either the first or second day.
And when we were first seeing when it was first showing up in the AMC app, it was only showing a week, less than a week in theaters. We were worried it wasn't going to be in theaters for very long. Luckily, it turned out to be very popular, so they ended up extending it. But yeah,
there's only one poster of it, though. I do remember that there's only one poster of it, because they did not expect it to be that big. Remember, because it wasn't even in the inside either. If you went into AMC when Flow was released, there was nothing about it on the inside. The only reason why if it was there was from the time when you go to the ticket booth, or the single poster that is the furthest away from the movie theater on the right side. That's it. That was all the indication that was there.
But yeah, so Flow, we were very interested in it because it had a very pretty art style, completely independently done in Blender by a small team, small studio, and that was exciting. Also, it's about a cat. It's about a cute cat.
Boom! You see a cute cat. You got to go see it.
You show me a cute black cat, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go see this movie. Kiki's Delivery Service. Flow.
Come on, give me a third one. Give me a third one.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Boom! There we go. That's pretty good.
You show me a cute black cat, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you, just take my money right now.
Yeah. And so while all of that was a reason for us to go see it, there was a secondary reason. If I remember correctly, and Joseph, you can tell me if I'm wrong, was when the first trailer for The Wild Robot came out, there was no dialogue, right?
When the first trailer for The Wild Robot came out,
there was no dialogue whatsoever.
No, there was dialogue, but it was just the robot.
Yeah.
So there was, I think they had some orchestral cover of What a Wonderful World playing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Lupita Nyong'o's voiceover for the robot, talking to the animals, but the animals didn't make any
no noises. No human noises.
I think there might have been animal noises. I don't remember, but it's it was a pretty short trailer. But you just have well, it wasn't that short, but there wasn't a lot of
there wasn't enough to go on. There wasn't a lot to go on.
A lot of scenes from the movie. It was more the vibe, giving you the idea of what the film is going to be like, and giving you the themes and stuff like that. And so you see this robot. It's a theme of conservation. The robot is the only character talking. These animals are just kind of silently or making animal noises. And I'm like, ooh, that's a really like avant-garde thing to do in an animated movie, you know, made by DreamWorks, you know, aimed at kids, to have animals and have them not talk, to have only one character talking in the movie. That's an interesting choice. And then the second trailer came out, and you know, the animals in the second trailer, it was revealed that the animals were going to be talking. They had a bunch of, you know, celebrity voice actors, Pedro Pascal, a couple other people, you know, big names. It's like, okay,
still a good movie. Still a good movie.
But
it wasn't what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, what that first trailer promised was almost like an art film, like a very experimental thing to do in a children's film.
But then that's where Flow comes in.
Because Flow has no human characters. The animals are just normal animals that make animal noises. There are meows and barks and bird sounds and whatever you call the noise that a capybara makes.
And a lemur.
And a lemur who goes like... there's those sounds. There's no dialogue.
None.
Of the character interaction is done exclusively through, you know, those sounds and very expressive,
very
animated characters.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the most impressive things about the film. It is like truly like a universal experience. Anyone, no matter what language they speak, can just instantly watch the movie and get what's going on.
Yep.
There's no barrier to connection with the characters because there's no race. It's not like a lot of other foreign films where, you know, there's no subtitles, there's no worrying about you know, like a disconnect with the culture. There's just something so human about these animals.
Yep. And you're able to connect to them with ease. Like within the first, I think it was minus the 3 minutes of where we thought the movie would start, and then it finally started after like 3.5 minutes. But that part was honestly quite hilarious. But your first sight with like the cats and the dogs, those are the first two things that you mainly see in the movie, is the cat and the pack of dogs. Like, it's hard to put into words if you haven't seen this movie, but the way that they make this cat act like a cat, but also be extremely expressive, you know exactly what that cat is thinking or feeling throughout the entire film, no matter what.
Yeah, it really is incredibly impressive, like how realistic it is. To anyone who's ever owned a cat, you see these little like quirks of movement that you're used to seeing, but you know, aren't commonly shown in animated films or there's any kind of film in general, because it's, you know, it's like a mundane type of thing.
The biggest thing I think are the eyes.
Yeah.
On every frame, I swear, this movie perfects how cat eyes show expression. Every frame, the eyes change and flicker or open more or close less or go to like the hunting eyes or stuff like that. It's fascinating.
That cat is serving looks for like half the movie. It is just staring daggers into like the lemur or the dog or like the racist birds.
Yeah, the race, yeah. The birds are racist.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Like and what you were saying about like, yeah, the eyes getting super big and dilated when the cat like sees something it likes to play with.
Like the fish.
Like the fish. Yeah, when it jumps into the water and it catches the fish. and it's just looking around it, and it's seeing all these beautiful, colorful fish, and its eyes just are so wide and
they're so big,
full of wonder.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene also in the movie where the lemur character is playing with this mirror.
Yeah, the mirror.
If you've ever had a cat, you know that they love to chase like little reflections of light, like from a watch or a phone or any kind of like reflective surface. They will go crazy over that. Like, I know my cat Katana, like, I remember being little and playing with reflection like that, and we'd put it up like somewhere on the wall where she couldn't reach it, and she would just sit and stare at it and like chirp, like and she was just so upset that she couldn't get to it. And I just, you know, that's like a little thing that is just perfectly captured in Flow.
Yeah. It's the best movie, in my opinion, of 2024.
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience, and I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. In fact, you know,
Criterion.
Yeah, a lot of, you know, this sentiment is it's quite a popular one. Earlier this year, it actually managed to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars against like some really stiff competition from, you know, the Wild Robot. It's a big studio film, also still pretty artsy, very well liked, and there was a real chance that because, you know, it had DreamWorks behind it, it had a very good chance of winning. Also, I think Inside Out 2 was also in the running.
Yep.
And Wallace and Gromit, Avenged the Most Foul, and Memoir of a Snail.
Yeah, so there's some pretty. That's some competition right there.
Yeah, a pretty stacked lineup. Inside Out 2, the highest-grossing animated film of all time when it came out, up until a Chinese film earlier this year dethroned it.
Yeah. I thought Inside Out 2 was going to win, to be completely honest. Not that I wanted to win. I want Flow to win 10,000%. But when you see a highest grossing animated film of all times, it's like, well, you know, yeah, it's going to win.
Flow was also nominated for Best International Feature, which was also very impressive because that is
absolutely.
Animation is severely underrepresented at the Oscars. They took until 2001 to even introduce a Best Animated Feature.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Shrek was the first to win that one. But very rarely do animated films show up in other categories. Like I mean, Beauty and the Beast got nominated for Best Picture in 1991. Up got nominated for Best Picture, and Toy Story 3 got nominated for Best Picture. But there's been very rarely crossover between Best Animated Feature and other categories. So it was really nice to see Flow get that recognition, and it really caused a lot more investment to be put into Latvia's film industry, which is great to see.
Awesome.
It's always great to see, you know, a country see a success like that and for to inspire more filmmakers to go out and make things. And so, you know, not only commercial success and critical success, but Flow is being added to the Criterion Collection later this year. That was announced soon after it won Best Animated Feature. It was originally just going to be like a quick Janus Contemporaries release, but then I decided, you know what? It's deserving of a full release with all the extra supplements and fun packaging design and all that. So that's something we've been looking forward to for a really long time. but they just won't put the pre-orders up yet. They're just I don't know, maybe they're still cooking. Maybe they're cooking like the director's commentary.
Maybe next month. Maybe next month they'll let us have the pre-orders in.
Yeah, just one more month. Just
one more
round. Just one more round.
One more. I can stop whenever I want, I promise.
Yeah, I can stop whenever I want. They will release it soon, hopefully. Please. Hey Criterion, if you see this, you should send us free copies of Flow on 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah, man. Free 4K copies. Well, yeah. Anything else about Flow?
I don't know. It's got some really interesting themes going on. It's about it's about community. It's a communist film. At the end of the day, it's a movie. At the end of the day, the cute cat is just a veneer to hide the fact that it's about PTSD and communism at the end of the day. Anyways.
And I think that is a perfect segue out.
And I think that is where we will leave you today. This episode went in directions I wasn't expecting.
Same here.
We went into this episode expecting to talk about Flow for an hour. Instead, we talked about how Ian has been blacklisted from every local school and hospital. So, if you see him, run.
Run. Far, far away.
He's actually a test sent from God to test audiologists and elementary school teachers.
Not the government, no. Fucking God himself sent down the test subject. But once you hit high school, you're good to go. Middle school and below, an audiologist, you watch out now. It's a test.
God gives his most autistic children to his strongest audiologists.
And they just happen to be deaf as well.
Yes. And that is our show. Thank you so much for listening. It has been a pleasure to record this. It's been a great time, Ian. I'm glad you joined me for this assignment that you really didn't have to, but thank you for agreeing.
No problem.
I know it's been a tough time to get stuff filmed with, finals and also your house being completely remodeled, but we did it.
You're not having walls.
Yeah, you don't need walls. What? Acoustics? What's that?
What's that? You want bird chirping?
But yeah, thank you for joining me. And thank all of you at home for listening. It has been great to just sit here and ramble, and you have to listen because you're my professor and you're grading this assignment. So thank you so much, Wayne Garcia, for giving me a 100% on this. Let's give him a round of applause real quick. Thank you, Wayne Garcia. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you had a great time, and we'll see you later. I hope you follow us for more episodes on YouTube and Spotify, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.